Let's go ahead and install Qt Creator, which allows us to make Qt apps. Luckily for us, vplay have packaged all of the necessary files, bits and pieces that we need in a very handy installer, so we're going to use their solution for installing everything. Now that doesn't mean that you're stuck with just using vplay. It means you can use Qt Creator whilst using all of vplay's plugins that go into Qt Creator, allowing you to make cross-platform apps. Just before we begin though, we're actually going to install OpenSSL, which will allow us to communicate with encrypted endpoints on the internet. The first thing we're going to do is open up a non-tracking search engine. DuckDuckGo is my favorite. And we're going to search for OpenSSL Windows. OpenSSL is a library it's an open source library that allows your applications in Windows to communicate with an SSL endpoint. So basically the HTTPS part of a domain, like you can see in the address in the bar. So we're going to go to slproweb.com and download their installer for OpenSSL. To find it, simply scroll down the page and you'll see a couple of experimental versions with the MSI. What we actually want are this one, Win64 OpenSSL, and Win32 OpenSSL. The reason we have two versions, 32-bit and 64-bit, is I'm not sure which one Qt Creator will actually try and pull when it installs itself, because it needs to use the DLLs from OpenSSL, so it's best to go ahead and install both of those. So simply click on the file, it'll download and execute it once you're done. Once you've finished installing Win64 and 32 OpenSSL, then go ahead and restart your computer to make sure that the various bits and pieces are registered correctly. Once you've installed OpenSSL and you've rebooted everything, then go ahead and search for vplay. Although if you're watching this at a later date, vplay might actually be called Keoba, K-E-O-B-A. So you might have to search for that because they're going to go through a rebranding exercise. So here we have vplay.net as our top result. And the link to download is pretty obvious. It's right at the top. It should pick up your platform. So I'm running on Windows, as you probably are as well. But it does have clients for Linux and Mac too, if you're running on those. Simply go ahead, hit download, enter an email address, and then once the thing has finished downloading, go ahead and click it, and I'll see you back here in a second. Once your installer is ready to go, the first thing we're going to do is click the Settings option. Now the settings allow you to define repositories. Normally, these simply go to the default vplay repositories, which go ahead and download all of the things that you need. If you run into issues where things aren't recognized inside vplay, then you can go to user-defined repositories. You can add a repository, and I've got a list right here of all the repositories that you can add in order to be up to the latest version of vplay. Now, depending on when you watch this, these might actually already be included in the vplay default installation, so you might not have to add them. But if you want to be on the bleeding edge, which does come with its own issues, so be careful of being on the bleeding edge, then go ahead and add these repositories according to whatever platform that you have. So for example, if I was on Linux, I would go ahead, copy that, and simply paste it into repository. I'm not going to do that right now. We're just going to do a default installation, because you can actually do this later on when you update your vplay installation. Simply hit next. It's going to run you through a couple more steps, download some remote repositories, ask where you want to install it. I'd advise you just leave it in C because it's the default location. So if things go wrong, I can tell you actually where to look, where to fix things. Simply hit next and run through the entire install process. Once everything has set up, you might have to reboot your computer. Simply search for Qt inside your start menu, and Qt Creator will be presented. This is the development environment that we use in order to make our cross-platform apps using Qt and vplay. So go ahead, hit enter on that when it comes up. And as long as everything loads okay, then we should be good to go. There we go. So we have our vPlay, create your first app, create your first game, because vPlay actually comes from the gaming community, but it's very useful in that you can create apps with it and use some of those things that you would normally put inside a game, like fancy transitions, things that you don't normally get inside apps. You can actually use all the game engine inside of apps, which is pretty useful if you want to create a really unique look and feel to your apps. So as long as all of this shows up, then we are good to go.